I had an adverse relationship with gratitude until I drowned in the pool. Okay. So that morning, after that thing, I'm an entrepreneur and I do crazy stuff. And I decided that next morning, I'm going to get up and watch every sunrise for 365 days. Okay. Before the sun comes up, I get up, I go to the park, I sit in the middle of the park, and I watch the
Right.
sun come up. Yep. I watch it every day. Well, today is day 607. Okay.
That's
I have
beautiful.
not missed one sunrise. I started a habit and didn't realize that in starting that habit, I was actually creating a company.
Welcome to the Fountain of Vitality podcast. I'm your host, LaMont Leavitt. In a world overflowing with noise, confusion, and distraction, we're here to cut through the clutter and explore bold, unique paths to a longer, healthier, and more vibrant life. Through candid conversations with business leaders, wellness experts, industry pioneers, and innovators, we'll uncover insights to help you discover your own personalized, unique approach to thriving. Tune in, trust the compass of wisdom within, and find your fountain of vitality. Hello, my name is LaMont Leavitt. I'm the host of fountainofvitality.com, and we are thrilled today to have with us Thayne Martin, who's the CEO and founder of itspurelove.com. Thayne, thank you so much for being with us today.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. I love your podcast. I love the goodness that you represent in the world. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to visit with you and your audience.
It's been fun to see your journey over the last several months. You've been doing a lot of great things with
Yeah.
neuroscience,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of interest out there.
Yeah.
Love to get started. Tell me a little bit about maybe if you could share a story or two of a few people of maybe whose lives you've helped to start change and where you want to take your business
Yeah.
to
Well, yeah,
help others.
that's a great question. So let's start with me. Okay.
Okay.
I'll start with my life change because it was changing my life that taught me experiential neuroscience. Okay.
Okay. Great.
So my story is sadly, I happened to live on the wrong street. All right. That's what happened. My parents moved onto a street that appeared to be safe, but there was not safety in that neighborhood. It was ugly, and my parents didn't know about it. But sadly, that ugly ended up impacting me in my childhood. And like most men, especially back then, there were no resources for children that were abused. There just weren't. And so I did like every other man did. I sucked it up. I pretended it didn't happen. I created a new life and I moved on. That was my hope. But sadly, when you mess with children at a young age, it leaves psychological scars that are really deep. And I had some really deep, ugly scars. I mean, being honest, Lamont, I ended up becoming very bitter in life, very angry, frustrated, bitter party of one, man. That was my life. I was a total Karen, is what I would say. I was kind to my family and friends, but outside of that circle, if you crossed me and you didn't look at me the right way, I would have crucified you.
Yeah, you weren't happy.
I was
Yeah.
angry. Yeah, I'd never dealt with the mental health challenges that happened to me. Okay. So I reached a point in my life where everything wasn't working and I actually had a near death experience. Okay. I took some medication I should never have been given and I had an allergic reaction instantly to that medicine and I was actually swimming when it happened. And
Oh man.
I had a seizure while swimming and I could not control my body and I literally drowned. I sunk to the bottom of the pool and I gave up the ghost. That's what happened to me. That's a true story.
Wow.
And then I woke up at the bottom of my swimming pool, wide awake. And how did I get there? That's another story. How did I get out? All I'll say is I was saved that day by grace. And I am grateful. And I am grateful for that opportunity because that was August 13th of 2023. That's the day I celebrate that as my new birthday because that old person that was toxic and ugly and full of piss and vinegar, that's gone. Okay. Today, I operate in love. That is the only thing that I care about is love.
Yeah.
And I decided after that experience that I needed to change and I had to change. And despite 20 plus years of professional therapy, it didn't stick. It didn't.
Yeah.
All the talking in the world is helpful, and it helped me, but it did not heal me.
Well,
And
let's talk about that a little bit, about just the frequency of love. I mean, you've seen Star Wars and all these different shows about how, how love is, what the universe is built on. There really is a frequency that hate has, which is a
yeah,
different frequency than
it is
love.
a low vibration for sure. Love is the highest of vibration. It is the highest frequency. Okay. People like it's literally the difference is it's like if you I'm a musician, so I understand frequency and waves. So
Yeah,
when you look at low notes and bass notes on the piano, they're slow and they're lethargic and they're so slow they get muddy in tone. So think of bass and low tone it and the lower it goes, the uglier it actually gets. But the higher the revolutions per second in sound, the higher the frequency, the higher the note, right?
right, right.
So if you look at a piano scale, it's actually a great indicator of vibration. The lowest vibration is the lowest note on the piano. It's also the most difficult to hear because it's noisy and ugly. The highest note on the piano, you can hear it a mile away because it's crystal clear and it's powerful.
Oh, speaking of powerful, you
Yeah.
mentioned high frequency of those higher notes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you heard of singers breaking glass.
Oh, yeah,
That's how
absolutely.
powerful.
That is vibration.
That's
Yeah.
vibration. That's
Yeah,
right.
we've seen it. Well, so I was vibrating scarcity, ugliness, and bitterness. That was what I was vibrating. I was putting that out into the world, and that's exactly why the world returned that to me, right?
Yeah.
You are what you sow. And, I heard that from my mom and my dad and my grandma and everybody else. But like any other human being, we're like, we got an ego, and I'm going to do it my way. Thanks, Dad, but not listening.
Right.
I mean, we've all done it. We've all raised kids. I got kids doing that to me right now, right?
Yeah.
And it's one
Yeah.
of the nuances of life. So, anyways, I one morning I took a photograph of a sunrise and I took a picture and it was so beautiful. I posted on social media and I said, "What are you grateful for?" And I posted it. And I got all kinds of people telling me how amazing it was to have positive social media. And then they started talking about this little word called gratitude. And when you had said gratitude to me, I would roll my eyes like, "Oh, if one more," like, because my grandmother used that from our generation, right?
Right.
My grandmother would browbeat me when I wanted that 3rd scoop of ice cream. "You need to be more grateful for the 2 scoops you already have," right?
Right.
I didn't like that lesson, I didn't like the word, so I resisted gratitude. When you said it to me, I ain't going there, that's punishment.
I'm not gonna be grateful.
Right, exactly. So I had an adverse relationship with gratitude until I drowned in the pool. Okay. So that morning, after that thing, I'm an entrepreneur and I do crazy stuff. And I decided that next morning, I'm going to get up and watch every sunrise for 365 days. Okay. Before the sun comes up, I get up, I go to the park, I sit in the middle of the park, and I watch the
Right.
sun come up. Yep. I watch it every day. Well, today is day 607. Okay.
That's
I
beautiful.
have not missed one sunrise. I started a habit and didn't realize that in starting that habit, I was actually creating a company. Because along my way, my other thing I wanted to learn in my social media experiment was this thing called gratitude. What is gratitude? So what I did is like everybody else did. Okay. I got out a list and I started writing. I literally went live on Instagram. I've never done a podcast. I went live and I was like, look, family and friends, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to celebrate every sunrise and I'm learning the word gratitude. And if anybody wants to come join me at the park, I will be here every day. Come join me. So I did 365 days of podcasting in the park. I did 275 live podcast episodes on Instagram and it changed my life. It
Wow.
changed my life. I wrote down lists. I failed at it. So then I downloaded an app. I thought maybe I would use an app. I like technology, but the app made me irritated because I felt like it was browbeating me like my grandmother. So I deleted the app and
Interesting.
yeah, and I said to my friend Logan at the time, I'm like, I'm not learning gratitude this way. And I don't know how I'm going to learn it, but there's got to be a better way. And then one day I interacted with a stranger. Okay. I interacted with a stranger that I know was an angel. I know that she was an angel. She was sent to teach me something that I did not know and understand. And it was the true meaning of gratitude. Okay. So I'll set the stage. I'll tell you this story real quick. I was driving to the west side of town. It took me an hour and 15 minutes to get there. By the time I got to that side of town, I had a full bladder. On the west side of town, there's not open bathrooms because of drugs and gang activity and whatnot. So I could not find a place to go. So I'm going one place after another to the point that I'm literally about to wet my pants. And I'm being straight up. Okay. And it was my third place. And I pulled into a Carl's Jr. And I knew they served breakfast, so they had to have a functioning restroom, okay? So I pull up to the side door and I grab it and it's locked. And I'm like, "What?" And I see the sign that says this door doesn't open until 11, and there's a woman at the front register and she points like this. So I go, "Oh, the front door's open." I go around the front. As I'm walking in the door, this woman yells out 4263. Now, I did not know what that was because I am beelining it back to the bathroom because if I don't get there, we're gonna have a problem. So
Right.
I get back there, and lo and behold, I needed the code to that bathroom to get in. So I punched it in 4263, went in, took care of business, and we all know how much better you feel after that.
Yes.
I came out feeling a little bit of relief, which is important. Okay. And then I realized that I needed to thank that woman for the kindness that she showed me. So I walked up to her, and this is exactly what I said and did. And this one thing completely changed my life. Okay. I walked up to her and I said to myself, that woman did not have to give me that code because I didn't buy anything from this establishment. She could have made me come in and purchase something or said that you need to buy something before she gave me the code, but she didn't. Because out of the kindness of her heart, she saw a man that was in distress. She could tell I was about to lose it. And out of the kindness of her heart, she stepped in for me. So I walked up to her. She was the only person in the restaurant at the register. There was no customers and a couple cooks in the kitchen. And I walked up to her and I said, "Hey, I uh, I know you don't know me. My name is Thayne Martin, and I don't know you. What's your name?" And she said, "My name's Carla." And I said, "Carla, I want to thank you right now from the bottom of my heart because I know that you stand there at that counter and you think that you sell hamburgers to people, but you actually made a difference in my life today. And I want to explain a little bit more why." So I shared with her about how I had been abused when I was a little boy, and that wetting my pants meant I would get beaten by my abusers. So had I wet my pants that morning because I couldn't find a restroom, I probably would have disassociated and it would have been an ugly situation right there in the lobby of a restaurant. But none of that happened. Why? Because she saw a person that just needed some help, a little bit.
Person in need. Yeah.
Yes. So she gave me that, and I said to her, I said, "Had I been humiliated, it would have ruined my day. I would have literally gone catatonic on you, and I wouldn't have kept my appointment. So because of your kindness and that little small thing that you did by giving me the code to the restroom, I wanna sincerely thank you from the bottom of my heart for you helping me when you didn't have to." And so I grabbed my wallet and I carry cash because I give it away. Okay. I've been blessed in many ways and I carry cash to give away when my heart says to do so. So I grabbed my wallet, I had $100 bill, and I looked at her and I said, "Carla," I said, "I know that you are not going to be in fast food most of your career because of the goodness that you have in your heart and the love that you have for the world and the love that you unconditionally shared with me. So I'm going to give you this $100 right now as my way of saying thank you and acknowledging you for being an amazing, beautiful human being. And I want you to make one commitment to me that you'll spend it on yourself. And if you don't spend it on yourself, something tells me that big old heart of yours is going to find that money in somebody else's pocket paying for a meal today that can't afford to buy a meal. And I know
Yeah.
that it's you. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the kindness that you showed me. And then I let go of the bill. She had grabbed it on one side and I had the other side and I let it go. And when I let it go, Lamont, I got hit with something I was so profoundly moved by. Like, it's making me tear up right now.
It's all right, man.
It was love, and it was a love that it just filled every ounce of my being. It started at my head, it went all the way through every pore, down to my toes, and as it was coming back up, I felt something activate between my heart and my brain, and I didn't know at the time that that was my vagus nerve ovulating. It was doing this, okay? And then I looked up, and this girl was crying too. So she was in tears and I was in tears, but the tears were joy. They were happiness.
Sheer joy.
Yes, from unconditional love, the deepest, most powerful force in existence. And I just felt it in a way that I've never, ever felt. I was high on love. That's what made me high. So, being somebody who wants that again, I went to my appointment and I tried to duplicate it to get the feeling, and I didn't get this feeling.
Yeah.
I call it a gratitude cocktail. That's what we call it. Okay. I
Okay.
wanted a gratitude cocktail. So I tried to replicate it and I couldn't, and it drove me mad. And I'm an entrepreneur. So I started studying what happened that day in that showroom. And I started down that path in neuroscience. And I started studying my brain and how jacked up my brain was from what happened to me as a kid. So I started leaning into neuroscience, and I learned that the word gratitude is actually neuroscience, okay? I found my first study that showed that when we practice gratitude, it actually quiets the amygdala, which is the fear, fight, or flight response in the body. So the minute I start thanking somebody, the amygdala shuts off. It is instant. It shuts off. And then what lights up is your prefrontal cortex where your rational thinking is. So I started thinking, wait a minute. So my crappy behavior that constantly comes from my body serving up fear or anger, all these things, I need to change the response in my body to a new emotion, or I'm going to keep showing up as an idiot. Because that's what I was.
Right.
I was an idiot. Okay. I was a very successful, very nice jerk. Okay. So that one thing led me down this path of neuroscience. And then I started studying it. I wanted to know what was in this phenomenon. And then I figured it out. I
So neuroscience, tell us,
Yeah,
a lot of my listeners probably have heard the word,
yeah,
but don't really know what it means.
yeah,
If you
sure.
were to define neuroscience,
Yep.
what does that mean?
So neuroscience is the study of the nervous system and the brain and how they work together. Most people think neuroscience is brain. It's not. Neuroscience is brain and the entire nervous system because your body operates often separate from the brain. That's true, okay?
So if our body's in a fight or flight, stressed out, can't sleep mode.
Yep, you're not gonna be making good decisions at that moment, right? Because your amygdala is running the show. And what I realized that I had an overactive amygdala and an underactive prefrontal cortex. That's what was going on with my behavior. And it was from my learned response from living a difficult life trying to overcome my childhood trauma. Okay. And it manifested in me in negative behavior. That's where it came from.
Yeah,
And no
interesting,
matter all
interesting.
the stuff that I tried to do to change myself, you can't change the mind alone. That's the problem. You have to change the body, and the body has to tie its physiological response to a new updated emotion. That's ultimately what neuroscience is, okay? It's
Okay.
understanding how can I manipulate my mind and my nervous system to better regulate human emotion because we are emotional creatures. And
So what are some tips you can give us? How to for someone that maybe got a lot of fight or flight in their life, they've had challenges or they're stressed out because they lost their job or the
Sure.
relationship is struggling. What are some tips you can give some people to
Yeah.
activate that prefrontal
Yeah.
cortex?
Okay. So here's the first thing. So gratitude is neuroscience, and it is the first tool that I go to in any situation. It's the first thing I train everybody on. Okay. Because gratitude is a tool that silences the noise and it silences the madness. All right. So I'll give you a tip right now. I use it all the time. I use it against my former self. Okay.
Perfect.
Because I was that guy that was going to come unglued on you and you had to figure out how to keep me from killing you. Okay. That was me.
Right.
So now I'm just a big teddy bear. I love everybody. And people are like, I can't believe you're the same person. Yeah, it really is me. Look, so here's how you use gratitude. All right. So imagine a situation where somebody's yelling at you. They're screaming at you at the top of the lungs. We've all been in those situations. All
Yeah.
right. So what's going on at that exact moment is the person that is yelling at you is being driven by the amygdala. So they've identified something in their field that reminds them of a story that their brain is now executing automatically because they did not have control of their amygdala. And that is why they got angry. All right. So they got angry and they're yelling and screaming at me. So the immediate response that I would normally have is defense. You
Defense.
throw
Defense.
foul,
Defense.
you
Yeah.
throw ugliness at me, I'm going to get bigger, louder, stronger, and overpower you. Okay, in that situation, nobody wins
No.
because nobody's actually thinking. Our nervous systems is what's driving everything. The amygdala is in charge. And when the amygdala is in charge, you're not going to be successful. It is going to lie to you and it's going to do everything it can to protect the human. So you have to learn to retrain the amygdala using gratitude. Because the minute you use gratitude, it shuts off your amygdala. It does. Okay. So you're now yelling at me. Pretend you're yelling at me, Lamont, right now. Start yelling at me. Scream at me. Tell me what a piece of
Oh,
crap
man. Okay.
is. Can you even do it? Probably
Yeah.
not, because
Listen,
I know that's
Thayne, I think you're nuts. You're crazy. What's wrong with you?
no, I know. Okay. So pretend you're yelling at me. Okay.
Rah, rah, rah,
Hey,
rah, rah.
hey,
Yeah.
hey, hey, Lamont, 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 Lamont. Hey. Okay. First off, I want you to know that I hear everything that you're saying. Okay? I hear the volume that you're yelling at me. I hear the tone and the intonation in your voice and clearly this is something very important. So I want to thank you right now for sharing these strong emotions with me. That tells me this is really important to you.
Yeah.
So I'm thanking you for your anger and for the volume at which you're treating me. Now I'm going to ask you to do one little favor. You can see how I'm acting right now, and I am not responding defensively in anger. I'm staying calm, cool, and collected because that's actually where the magic is going to happen. I see your anger, but I'm going to meet you in the middle, but you got to come there with me. So, can you bring your volume a little bit down? Because trust me, I want to solve this problem. I'm grateful that you told me how mad you made that I made you. I'm grateful for that feedback. What I need is to level the playing field, though, okay? Because right now, you're very angry, which also tells me your amygdala is running the show. So, if you can meet me right now, let's just both breathe for a second. Can you take a quick breath with me?
All
No,
right.
seriously, in through the
Okay.
nose, out through the mouth.
The whole breath work stuff, okay?
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I do it all the time with people that are high. Like, trust me, my job now, I teach people using experiential neuroscience how to change behavior. Okay. So when they hire me, I tell them my job is to fix your behavior. I am not your friend, not your friend. My job is to see how you show up in the world, and I will test you. I
Yeah.
will deliberately make you angry because I want to see when you lose your crap. Okay? Because
Yeah.
then I'm gonna make you lose your crap in some experiences. And when you lose your crap, you're gonna also learn that there's a better way. And when you train the body real time while it's learning, it will update that story. That is what experiential neuroscience is. I'm using 5 psychological proven techniques to force the body to update its programming. Okay?
Okay,
And
what are the 5? Just for our listeners, what are
yeah,
the 5?
sure. So the first one is polyvagal theory. Okay. So every exercise that I create has to be safe because if it's not safe, nobody's going to do it. So that's the first thing in number one when I create an experience. The
Okay.
second thing is it's around memory reconsolidation. Okay. And what memory reconsolidation is an understanding that we all have different brainwave patterns that we can see and measure. Okay. And there is a particular brain wave that our brain will go into when we have identified something in our field of view that we consider to be risky. Okay. So I need to create an experience that is safe, but I also need to create a little bit of fear in you because I want your brain to enter into that learning mode of being malleable. Okay. So that's
Right.
memory consolidation. The next step is predictive processing. Okay. So, what predictive processing is all about is understanding that my subconscious mind is going to create a story about this exercise. That's what it's going to do. Your brain's going to automatically do that. And in this instance, I want your brain to create an accurate story, and most likely it's going to be failure, average, or poor. That's what I want you to predict. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Then we move into interpersonal neurobiology and integration. So, in this exercise, you will be completing something, a task. You will be using your body to complete a task. And in completing the task, what we have at the end of the experience is pro social emotions. Okay. Why that's important is because if I take the brain and I make it malleable so it's paying attention, and then I let it predict average to failure to ugly. And then in the exact same experience, I actually get kindness, love, gratitude, and success. The brain says to itself, wait a minute, we predicted average, ugly, and failure, and you just showed us success, kindness, gratitude, and happiness. That feels a lot better. Maybe we missed the mark here. So the
Right.
this mind, you served up failure and average, but I need you to remember this going forward because this is the new experience and I like being happy better. So the brain literally updates the physiological response in the body to the new emotion that it experienced from the pro-social experience. So you are literally rewriting the mechanism between the physical response in the body and the emotional response that needs to change. That's why most programs don't help, right? That's why traditional therapy is talk based.
So psychologists and psychiatrists, one of the challenges, it's about talking about it and talking about it and
Yeah,
talking about it
yeah,
and tearing everything down and
yeah,
rebuilding it back up, but it
yeah.
doesn't really get into
It
solving the
doesn't.
problem.
It doesn't because you have to experience it. The problem with that treatment is you haven't engaged the body, and the body drives the show. You
Wow,
see,
that's
the
true.
body creates the stimulus, and then the mind interprets what the body thinks it needs to play. You see? So, what most people don't realize is we all have 0.25 seconds between when our mind grabs onto something from the amygdala and when it actually will execute the program that the amygdala thinks is the right story to play. How many times have you ever said something in anger that you went back and go, I did not say that? And then your wife goes, yes, you did.
Yes, yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
we've all done it. Okay, so what happened in that situation? That's because your amygdala got a hold of you and executed a program, and it did it automatically, which is why your conscious self, your soul, resisted it and said, I didn't do that.
I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the truth of the matter is you didn't. Your subconscious mind did. It executed it based upon pattern recognition, and this is what you've always done.
This is your
That's
defensive
right.
kickback.
And that's why all of the talk therapy is great. But the problem is until the rubber hits the road and you actually experience it, you're not going to incorporate it into your daily life. So,
Okay.
experiential neuroscience is what we are pioneering with my company is purelove.com. And what we've learned is that if we use experiences and we follow those six things, okay, there's one more. So there's
Okay.
the neuroscience of gratitude. That's number 5. Okay. Because gratitude, neuroscience, you can look at the studies all day long because gratitude will absolutely diffuse an ugly situation. It will quiet the mind and it will strengthen your prefrontal cortex every time. Okay. So that is in every exercise. Gratitude, love, and kindness is in every exercise that I do because they're the strongest emotions and they're the ones that everybody wants, anyways.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. And then the last thing is something we call resonant encoding. So when I teach things, we learn by repetition, emotion, and volume. Okay. So when I teach people, I teach you in a way that's a little bit different, but because it's different, I'm teaching you in the way that you actually learn. Okay. So we start out, like for instance, I teach a manifestation technique that it's called belief, become, bestow, behold. Okay.
Okay.
That's what I teach. So I want you to remember those four
This
things.
is for individuals or companies? Or
Individuals. Okay.
okay.
Belief, become, bestow, behold. Right. So if I wanted you to remember that and you were in my workshop, we would start quietly. Okay. And I would have you start chanting with me. Do it with me now. Ready?
Okay.
Belief, become, bestow, behold. Belief, become, bestow, behold.
So, belief, become,
Bestow,
bestow,
behold.
behold.
Yes.
Belief,
Okay.
become,
So
bestow, behold.
yes.
Okay.
Okay. So now we're gonna raise the volume as we are saying that pattern. Okay. So you with me? Here we
Yeah.
go. Belief,
Belief, become,
bestow, behold.
behold. Belief,
Become,
become,
bestow, behold. Belief, become, bestow, behold. Belief,
belief,
become,
become,
bestow,
bestow,
behold.
behold. Belief,
Belief, become,
become,
bestow,
bestow, behold.
behold.
Okay.
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 Now, do you remember that?
Yeah, I do now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you'll never forget it,
Yeah.
ever. That is resonant encoding. So I used
Oh, okay.
emotion and volume and repetition to force that into your subconscious mind. You will never forget that.
Yeah,
I
that's true.
promise you. I could ask you 6 years from now, "Do you remember the 4 Bs?" And you
Yeah.
would go, "Believe,
Belief,
become,
become,
bestow,
behold.
behold."
That's
You would
right.
remember. Okay, that is
You
resonant.
kinda you kinda beat it into your subconscious
That
basically
is
with
correct.
volume and repetition,
Yes, and emotion. Emotion.
emotion.
Yes, volume, emotion, repetition, rhythm is what creates the pattern that the mind then grabs onto and then automates it,
Okay.
right? So
Alright.
use resonant encoding. So every experience I give you, there is resonant encoding around what you learned. So you're going to repeat some things so it gets stuck in your psyche, right?
Right.
What I'm doing is I'm rewriting the emotional operating system of your mind. And I'm changing fear from being a stop sign to being a caution and pay attention.
So it's kind of a mental reboot. I mean, where you just you're kinda
Well, yes,
resetting all the stuff that's messed up in your head
that is
from
correct. And
life.
replacing it with proper programming.
Okay.
Look, I experienced ugly trauma as a kid, but guess what? So did you, Lamont. You
Yeah.
experienced a different kind of trauma, right?
Sure.
Where does self limiting beliefs come from? Our childhood. Okay.
Yeah.
Think about it. Think about, like, I'll give you an example of one for me. All right. When I was about 6 years old, my brother was a little bit older than me, and my brother could balance anything on wheels. Okay. He could fix a bike, he could take a bike apart, he could do all of those things. And then I came into the family and I was a musician. Okay. I like things that make noise. I didn't like things that went fast that I could fall off of. So my dad decided to do like what most dads do and make us all the same. So my dad went out and bought me a bicycle because my brother had a bicycle. I
That worked the first time around.
Right, right, exactly. So I got on a bicycle and my brother had built a ramp in the front yard. Okay. And so I'm like, okay, well, I saw my brother jump off the ramp and I'll try and do the same thing. So I'm 6 years old. I don't have the helmet on because we didn't do that back then. And I went on the ramp. I didn't lift up and I did what we call an endo, right?
Right.
Endo, front
Right.
end dropped, right, and I went over the handlebars, I crashed, and then what happened?
You hit
Everybody
your
started
head.
laughing at me,
Yeah,
okay?
sure.
Started laughing. My brother, my friends, everybody's laughing, and at that very moment, I wrote the story, okay? As a 6-year-old little boy without anybody there to help me, I wrote the story that I cannot balance and I cannot ride a bicycle like my brother, and I never will. So, you know what? Screw this thing on 2 wheels. I parked the bike on the side of my house and
Uh-huh.
I didn't ever ride it again. Done. Done with bike. So most of my life, I've never gotten anything with 2 wheels because I said to myself from my 6-year-old self that you can't balance anything
You
because
you programmed yourself at
that's
6 and everything.
yeah, because my dad wasn't there at that moment to say, "Hey, Thane, so I understand you just fell off the bike and everybody
Yeah,
was laughing, but I want you to know something. They weren't laughing at you, okay? They were laughing at the situation
yeah,
because unfortunately it was
yeah,
funny. So don't take their laughter as humiliation because that's not accurate. The second thing is we need to teach you how to lift up on your handlebars when you get towards the top of the ramp. Okay. So
it's
if
just
you lift
learning,
up
yeah.
on your handbars, you would have sailed off the end of that ramp. You would have landed on your back tire and you would have been fine. But you see, my dad wasn't there that day. So nobody told me the story, so I wrote the wrong story.
You're right, that's right.
Embellished it the rest of my life. I went back to when I was 6. So when I had an opportunity to buy a Harley Davidson, okay, as an adult, I didn't buy it. You know why? I said, "I don't know, that's on 2 wheels I can't balance." You see?
It
So
was,
the
yeah,
self-limiting belief, I embellished my whole life to the point where I never got anything on 2 wheels.
yeah,
So how much of my life did I miss from that self-limiting belief that I created when I was 6?
yeah.
A lot.
So as far as, limiting beliefs, I
Yeah,
think let's pivot a little bit to, I think we have those individually, and we
yes,
have those in our companies too.
yes,
Um, and so when you teach, an individual
mhm,
and company
yes,
to grow up, if you will, and reprogram their
yeah,
setup,
yeah,
what's your strategy? How do you go about,
yeah.
it's kind of a mix of individual and a company, or
It is,
how do
yeah.
you attack that?
Yeah, so a couple of things. The first thing is, so we're using an AI model, which is absolutely amazing. And what we do is we partner with another company. We're using their technology. We put it inside of the business, and it actually uses communication through your existing systems. So Slack, Google, it can read all of that. And then it uses 1,200 NLP signals. Okay.
That's a
And
lot. That's a
yeah,
lot.
behavior path. So it's going to analyze all of the communication going between all of your employees. And depending on the words that it's seeing and repetition and the amount of time it takes for you to reply to that email, all of that is in an algorithm that ends up showing you, the CEO, what the true culture is of your company. So I can literally give you a dashboard that shows you your burnout score, your executive capacity score, your psychological safety score. There are 6 core metrics that the software measures. Okay, great. So we've got a burnout problem like most companies do. And like most companies, their solution is hire a motivational speaker. Bring the guy in, pay him 70 grand to stand up there and pump everybody up and tell him how amazing they are. And I did that in corporate America left and right. That's where I cut my teeth.
Right.
Okay. I sat in those seminars and rolled my eyes because what happens on Monday morning? The speaker gets on the plane and leaves, and so there's your motivation. It
Right.
does not
And
stick.
then and I can't tell you how many companies I've worked in or with where,
Yeah,
well, we better do a survey to find out if our people are
right,
happy with us. And and
right. And
and
we all know how accurate employee surveys are, right? They show up 60 days after the fact, and we all lie on them because we know that management's reading. You never get the truth anyways, which is the problem with most culture change. Okay, so here's what I do that's different.
yeah,
Okay, I'm not going to come into your company and teach and show you what's wrong with your departments and operational inefficiencies. It'll show up in the data, and I'll find it because
that's interesting. That's interesting.
I'm going to take a KPI snap line of everything that matters in your business. On day one, we're going to snap the line on every core metric that you keep track of in your business. Then we're going to put AI in to measure your culture. And then I'm going to start doing something that nobody else does in the business. I'm going to train your employees how to better manage their own emotional energy. Okay. So I'm going to teach them experiential neuroscience. And in doing these exercises, I will change the mind and the hearts of those employees. And they will learn to balance their emotional energy. Because what's happening right now in corporate America, it's $1 trillion problem worldwide. It's about $360 billion here. And that cost is lack of focus. That's all it is. So you think of how many times did you have an employee that
Yeah.
shows up at work and they've always been, I manage salespeople, okay? And I always had these sales guys that were amazing year after year after year. And then one year, my superstar started sputtering. He started missing his numbers. And about 6 months in, I'm going, what's going on? Because this guy's a rock star.
Right.
And I realized that he wasn't managing the personal energy of his home life. And I found out that he was struggling in his marriage. And because he wasn't able to balance the emotional energy of what was going on with his wife and his son, he was showing up at work not focused. He was showing up with negative energy, and the customers could feel it. They quit buying from him. So, what actually happened was nothing that the company did, it was him and his inability to manage his emotional needs. So, he came up to work showing up at 50% because he couldn't focus on his job.
Yeah.
So imagine if I went in and I taught you through experiential learning how to redesign the physiological response and how to balance your emotional energy. because anybody can learn how to do it. It's because they have an overactive amygdala and an underactive prefrontal cortex. So we start with awareness training. I start with awareness and I actually use a bracelet. You're looking at it. I
Yeah, that whole awareness comes before change. You can't change
Yeah,
until you.
exactly,
Ah,
exactly. So I use this bracelet and I can take any human being and bring them into present focus regularly in 48 hours using this bracelet and a simple technique I can teach you. Okay. So
amazing.
in 48 hours, I will change the way your brain thinks. Why? Because I'm going to change your brain to experience something differently. And when you do it over and over and over for 24 hours, the brain's going to learn that that way of thinking isn't going to work anymore. So once I have you in what I call aware, then I teach you balanced thought, which is how to neutralize any negative thought that comes from the subconscious. Because every time in every moment, positive and negative are present. Truth. So
Right.
the question is, I choose, is this happy or sad? And I also choose the degree. So what happens if I can learn to manage that 0.25 seconds before my amygdala execute? That leads to emotional intelligence and the ability to choose. So wait a minute, my body just served up anger and fear. I'm using my bracelet,
Yeah.
disrupting thought, disrupting the thought, which takes it to the prefrontal cortex. So I literally just took anger and moved it to my prefrontal cortex with this simple technique. That's it. Okay.
Interesting.
And now my prefrontal cortex is engaged and I'm no longer angry because the amygdala has quieted. So now I can rationally think about this thing that entered my field that made my amygdala rise like that. Okay. And now I can make a better decision. Hey, amygdala, thank you for serving up anger. But if I play anger right now, that's going to decimate these ladies in accounting. And I don't want to do that. Okay.
Right.
Wouldn't be the right thing to do. So, oh, I can feel my anger coming back. Yep, shake your bracelet. That's because your amygdala's coming back online. Bring it back. Yep,
Dial it back.
I got it. I'm good. Quit shaking. All right. All right. I need to meet with Joan in accounting and I need to have a calm, cool, and collected conversation with her because anger's not going to work. All right, Joan. Hey, um, first off, I want to thank you, Joan. I want to thank you for all the hard work that you do in this company. I know in accounting, I know that sometimes salespeople make fun of you guys, and I was one of those guys. So I need to apologize because you're actually a really important function in this company. And I want you to know that I see your hard work and I appreciate you.
Yeah, and the sales guys aren't willing to do it.
No,
Just
absolutely. Yeah,
just like she's not willing
yeah,
to do
we're
the
prima
sales.
donnas. We don't do that stuff, right? Okay, like I used to be that way, not anymore. All right. So Joan, I just want to thank you literally for all the hard work you do at the company. Now, there's something I need your help with. I've noticed that I need this report every Friday morning at 6 a.m. And because I've got a board meeting on the East Coast and it's West Coast time, and I need it at 6 a.m. And the last couple times it's been late. So I'm not sure where in the food chain this report is being held up. I know it comes from accounting, but you must be dependent upon some other things in order for you to be able to do it. So let's figure out what's going on that's wrong there, that's not working, and let's come to a solution that makes sense. Can we do that?
Yeah, then you're not targeting an individual,
Right.
you're just
So,
it's just a
so
thing.
I took an ugly situation. I balanced the emotional energy as an employee. I let my amygdala go quiet. I went over to accounting. Instead of yelling at them and creating ugliness and negativity in my company, I treated them with gratitude. You notice the first thing I said to Joan was, "Thank you for doing your job." You know why I did that? It keeps my amygdala quiet and it also sets on the right tone with Joan because what
Yeah.
I showed Joan was respect. Okay. I showed Joan respect. Had I walked in there and started yelling at her, she would have resisted, shut down, wouldn't have
Oh,
heard it.
yeah.
But when I walked in there with gratitude, thanking her for the hard work that she's done and seeing that, what I got was an advocate. Now she's willing to not only solve my problem, she's a friend now. Okay. So that is how you change culture in companies. You have to change the emotional operating system of the employees. And when the employees learn how to balance their emotional energy, they're not going to take it out on your staff or you, the CEO, or your customers, which cost you money. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So three almost $400 billion problem in our country, and it's from distracted employees that are sitting in your chair occupying your real estate, spending 50% of their time thinking about things in their future that they can't control, and the other 50% about the things that they can't fix. And what they're not focusing on is you, your
Right.
company, your task at hand. So that's why I created my company. And that is the work that we do at ispurelove.com. We
You,
change
that's
culture
awesome.
through experiences. Okay. So your employees are going to interact with each other. They're going to do things that are fun. Imagine that. So here's an exercise. I'm going to give you a free
It probably's got it's gonna help, the employees actually wanna stay
100%.
if they
Yes,
feel like,
because
they're
yes,
being heard and listened to and they've
yes,
got a reason to be
yes,
there. uh,
yes.
it builds on itself.
It does, and when you put gratitude and love back into business, that's the way it used to be. It
Yeah,
did, right?
yeah,
I was named after my grandpa, right? My grandpa Thayne, and he was a salesperson, and I remember a time when I was little, I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, and my grandma was babysitting us, and my grandpa had sold machinery for a company called Duwall, all right? They make big industrial band saws.
yeah,
Okay, Duwall. So my grandfather had one of his machines at a plant near the airport, and the machine went down, which meant the production line was at a halt. So my grandpa got a call from a very upset and irate customer because I remember hearing him yelling through the phone. So my grandpa took me with him, and we went into the factory. And sure enough, we found this guy, and he came out, and he was a little hot and he was a little angry, but my grandfather never lost composure.
he totally diffused it then.
He did, and here's what was interesting. My grandpa had a spare part. He brought it in, he got the plant back online, and then the man, this is what I'll never forget this. He patted my grandpa on the back, and he said, "Thank you," and then he said these 3 words, "I love you, Thane." He said he loved my grandfather, and I walked out of that meeting, and I walked out of that building, and I turned to my grandpa, and I said, "Grandpa, he said he loved you, but he's not family. Like, it's not love."
Yeah,
And my grandpa was a very wise man. And he said, love is in everything that we do. It doesn't stop at just the family. You treat every human being as if you are family. And if you do that, you will be very successful in life, right?
yeah.
So I watched my grandpa diffuse an ugly situation with kindness and gratitude. And I saw a businessman who greeted my grandfather in love. Okay. When was the last time anybody used the word love in business? And why did we pull it away? Okay.
And what's the likelihood of that customer of your grandfather's going somewhere else?
Oh, no, no, no.
Not
Never.
no.
No, because my grandfather proved that he could handle an emotionally ugly situation with profession and ease, right? My
Yeah,
grandfather was emotionally intelligent. Somewhere along the line, somebody trained him how to control his amygdala.
yeah.
Never got that training. So I showed up as a hothead, right? I was wired hot. My dad's a hothead. My grandpa was a hothead. I was born wired hot. I know that. It is genetic. That's epigenetics, another podcast episode. But yeah, it is genetic. Like anger is genetic. It is. It shows up in our genes. So if you have an
Interesting.
angry father, you are automatically wired with more anger than somebody who did not have a hot father. It's in your DNA. That's epigenetics. There's studies all over the place that'll show that.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you know that you're wired hot, like I am, I'm wired hot. I know I have the fastest amygdala known to man, but not today. My amygdala, I call her the evil queen amygdala. Like in my mind, like the evil queen amygdala is what was hijacking my life.
Yeah.
So now, like in my course, I actually train and teach people to name their amygdala and treat it separate from you.
Oh, that's so it becomes its own entity. It's
It
like
is,
and you
and
gotta
it's
control it.
separate from you. It is. Your subconscious mind in your body is actually separate from you. You see, you are the observer, Lamont. Okay. The soul that lives inside of my body, that is the observer. Okay. The subconscious mind and the body, that is separate from me. That's not me. That's
Yeah.
my rented meat suit and the monkey that I inherited when I came into this body. That's all that thing is. So the sooner I accept that my meat suit has its own agenda and it's often wrong because it's being driven by an amygdala that was designed to keep me safe at all costs, even if it's not true. Once you start understanding that, you start understanding how to change human behavior. And it's not by talking. If you want to change human behavior, you experience it and you tie it to a new pro-social emotion, one based on love, kindness, gratitude, connection. And what ultimately happens is the fear response in the body gets reprogrammed. So fear to me is no longer a stop sign. Fear tells me and my body, pay attention, Thane. There's something going on that you can learn from.
Yeah.
Well, that's a different perspective. I'm not being punished. I'm being taught. If I take the time to learn from this negative situation and balance, there's always positive in every negative.
That's a real good, uh,
Always.
a
That's
good
how
thought
it's done.
to end on, where we want to live in our body, recognize this shell for what it is, and
Yeah.
let our soul make the decisions, not our
Yes.
amygdala, not
Yes.
not our own childhood trauma or the
Or
trauma of our parents and
yes.
grandparents, which
Yeah.
that stuff gets is all kind of
It
baked in
is.
over
It is
generations.
genetic. Yes, it
So
is real. Yeah. So I went from not understanding the word gratitude to getting up every day with the sunrise and now teaching gratitude and neuroscience for a living. Like that is literally what I do. I change companies and people, and I do it through experiential learning. You're not going to read my course. There's no book, by the way.
right, right.
Okay. We call it the equation of life and abundant happiness. That's what I teach, right? And it's based upon the principles of mathematics as applied to human emotion. So I'm going to teach it to you real fast. Okay.
Okay.
You already know it. Okay. What's the first thing you remember in grade school, Lamont? First mathematical thing you learned. What did you remember?
Just, 1 plus 1 equals 2?
There you go. Addition. Okay. So addition in the equation of life and abundant happiness means we add those things in life that bring forth goodness and joy. That is addition.
Yeah,
Subtraction is what you learned next. And subtraction is letting go of those things that do not serve you, that do not bring you joy, and not carrying them with you.
yeah,
Okay. So the thing that's upstairs that everybody gets to define, the expectation is that I need to learn how to add and subtract in the moment. And every one of us can do that. What do I add right now? And what do I let go of to bring myself to a state of neutral? I'm not saying you have to be happy, you have to be neutral. Because when you are neutral, you're not being driven one way or another. You're free. Okay.
yeah,
Well, then what did you learn in grade school? Multiplication.
right.
Mm. You learned your times tables. Well, what is multiplication? Multiplication is about growth and expansion. So from my neutral position,
And
okay,
exponential growth.
yes, I take my action and my intention, I align it with my family, my friends, my coworkers, and the thing upstairs, and I execute. And it grows and it gets bigger, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it's gotten bigger. What did you learn next in math? Division.
Division.
What's division? Division is about returning the expanded goodness back to the system of which it came. Okay. So there's something that I learned when I died, and it's called heartfelt abundance. And abundance is actually a cost that comes from the heart. Okay. So what I mean by that is if I had $100, Lamont, and through my action, intention, and the growth and everything that I created, I've now got $1,000. Okay. How much of that $1,000 do you need? Okay. I need 600 bucks to pay my rent this month. Okay, great. We also know that every human being needs a layer of safety. So I'm going to add another $200. That's a cost that comes from my heart that says out of that thousand,
Something
I'm
something
going to
might
pay
come up.
100. Yeah. Okay. So that leaves me $200 of what we call excess abundance. All right. So you're supposed to give that away. That is the way the system was designed, but we haven't done that. We've held on to the excess. And instead of trusting that we will have what we need when we need it, we hold on to it. And what happens is we starve the system, which is why today we have a world that is completely divided. We have our first trillionaire, and yet we have women in South America or in Africa that don't even have food in their bellies, and everybody goes to sleep under the same sun. I'm not okay with that. I'm not. Okay. That means we're not living abundant correctly, right?
Yeah.
Is if we take what we need and a little bit more to feel safe and put that extra back into the world of which it came, then the equation runs perfect.
Equation gets fixed, the whole math.
Yes, and then you reach the equal sign. and the equal sign is gratitude. And it is the beginning and the end of every equation. It always is. It starts and ends with gratitude because gratitude levels the playing field. I can take the ugliest situation, use gratitude, and fix it in 2 seconds. That's powerful.
Great thoughts. Well,
Yeah.
if any of our listeners need help with or any of this resonates with them, whether it's individually or
Mhm.
with their company, I think if you're tired of all the surveys and your company's still broken,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
take a look at what Thayne has to offer. I think that
Yeah.
you're delving into some great stuff and leveraging AI through that
Yes.
process too to help retrain the
Yes.
people and the companies.
Mhm. And
Anyway,
I have an
thanks
AI
again.
model.
It was
An AI model.
what's that?
So my coach is actually an AI now. So when you have an employee that is not managing their emotional energy, they can actually access, we call her Ella, and Ella is short for the equation of life and abundant happiness. So I have an app called Ask Ella. So if you're having an emotional meltdown and you start talking to Ella, the first thing it's going to say to you is, tell me one thing you're grateful for, even right now.
Yeah, let's go shut off your amygdala.
It uses neuroscience to shut off the amygdala. Yes, it's
Love
the
it.
first app of its kind, and
That's
it's part of
awesome.
our program, and it's available to our clients.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much for your time
Thank you,
today,
Lamont.
Thane. It was awesome having you here. I'm sure your ideas and what you've shared with our listeners is going to make a difference in a lot of people's lives. Thanks again.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
We'll catch you again soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Fountain of Vitality podcast. Head to fountainofvitality.com for more episodes, insights, and resources. Remember, your health is yours to own. Take charge, focus on what you can control, and keep exploring what works for you. Always be your best self, lift others, and trust the compass of wisdom. Until next time, stay vibrant and take care.